my goodness, welcome back to another trailer breakdown. And this time around, we're looking at the sort of trailer. They didn't call it a trailer. They went out of their way to make sure that we know that it's not a trailer. Anyways, of course, I'm talking about the trailer for The Flash. It's just called The Flash. Nothing else going on there. Now, what I want to go through here, and there will be time codes below if you do want to jump around, we're going to look at story inspiration. The Flash himself, like the suit, the time travel, why there's two of them, all of it, that whole thing. The villain of the piece, Supergirl, Michael Keaton's Batman, the return of, my God, I've got so much to say about that, including how I think he's probably going to get beat up quite a bit. We're going to see an old man get bashed. Plus, I want to get into what we don't see in this trailer, because there is quite a bit not revealed, which makes sense. This isn't a full movie. And of course, the release date. If you could leave a like, that would be much appreciated, because we're covering a bunch of stuff for DC Fandom on this channel, but everything extensively on my podcast, The Weekly Planet, which I'll talk about a bit later, because we got to get into it. We got to talk about The Flash. Now, let's talk about this new suit. It's very slick. It's very Tron. I've seen a lot of criticisms of the cowl. It's a hard thing to get right, and quite frankly, I think they've done a really good job here. I like the glowing lines on it. Something like this hasn't really been seen in live action. Obviously, there's been multiple incarnations in the Flash TV series, so it's kind of hard at this point to make something distinct that people like. And look, we don't see much of it here, but it's cool. I'm into it. Now, this story, of course, it takes inspiration from the classic narrative Flashpoint. Now, if you don't know, it's a great animated movie, by the way, but it's also a comic book story, pictures words together, where the Flash goes back in time to save his mother, who we know in this universe also has been murdered. We've seen in previous movies because his dad's in jail for that. And in doing so, there is a ripple effect. Now, I think starting with Flashpoint as the Flash's solo movie is, it's a bit of an odd choice, because he's very much established as the Flash in the comics by the time that version rolls around. And there's also been multiple incarnations of the Flash at that point. But again, look, they've covered so much in the show, I don't think we need to recap too much of what we've already seen. Some of the stuff in this we have already seen in that show, including the saving mother thing. But also, if you look at this version of The Flash from the perspective of what happens in the Snyder Cut, that fleshes out his story a lot more. Is that canon? Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. Anyways, the whole thing about him saving his mother, it's a trick, right, from a villain, which we'll talk about, who might be in this movie, we'll see. And as a result of that, he never goes into forensics, which means he never has the accident, which means he never becomes the Flash. We do see in this trailer that's not a trailer that him and another person who's also him, they actually take a cab, which makes me think, oh, he's been unpowered. He has none of the powers. So maybe he's going to Batman, to Bruce Wayne, because he's met a version of Batman before, and that version brought an alien back to life using a magic box and electricity. So who else really would you want to get to restore your powers? So that's what traditionally happens in this story. Batman assists him in becoming the Flash again. Well, it's not Batman, it's Bruce Wayne's father who becomes Batman, who I think they probably would have got for this movie, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who appears in Batman v Superman. They couldn't get Michael Keaton, but they did get Michael Keaton. So they went, let's just combine some universes. Yes, we are going to talk about Bruce Wayne, but first I want to talk about the villain. Now, in the comic, the villain ends up being the Reverse Flash. Why is he called the Reverse Flash? Well, he wears a different suit and he doesn't run backwards. That is why they call him the Reverse Flash. In this trailer, though, we do see two versions of Barry Allen, both played by Ezra Miller. And the alternate one is the one with the floppy hair. That's probably the villain, I would say. There has been a bunch of evil Flashes from multiple dimensions at many points in time throughout the comics and TV show. So I think that's what this is here. Somebody who's manipulating regular Barry Allen to do some time stream and Speed Force stuff to his own nefarious end. We do catch a glimpse of his costume and it is reddish. So he's probably not maybe the Reverse Flash. This might just be an evil Barry Allen situation. Behind the Flash also, we see that Supergirl, played by Sasha Calle. Now, I'm curious, in this universe that they're in, they appear to be stuck in the Tim Burton Batman universe. But is she from this universe? Because in Batman 89, there is no Superman. If you count the Joel Schumacher versions in the same canon, there's a moment where Batman's like, this is why Superman works alone. Which isn't strictly true. Superman works with a lot of people. Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, Crypto the Superdog. He's got a bunch of robots in the Fortress of Solitude. He's in the Justice League. And he also has a son. So no, he doesn't work alone. George Clooney, famously terrible Batman, people say. I don't actually think he's that bad. He would make a good Batman in the right movie. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. My question is though, is this Supergirl from the Burton universe? I would say yes, because we haven't got any hint of her as of yet in the Henry Cavill regular Flash universe. But that's not to say that she does not exist, but it would also mean that she'd have to skip over into this timeline. But also, from what we've seen from the behind-the-scenes stuff, she is wearing a Henry Cavill-esque suit, but that could just be like, similar dimension shit going on there. But look, this whole thing, it's a tribute to Batman 1989. Boy, is it. We see them cruise on up to Wayne Manor. It's exactly the same. The gates, the gargoyles, it's the same one. When he fires up the Batcave, it looks very similar to how he fires up the Batcave in Batman 1989. It's a little bit more sparky, and there's way more cobwebs. There's obviously some maintenance and cleaning issues here, because Alfred is probably dead. I mean, the actor who played Alfred in these movies, he is dead, and it would make sense that he would be dead now because Michael Keaton is 70 years old. I would like to see them bring back the AI version of Alfred from Batman and Robin. That'd be fun, but it might be a bit Jarvis Iron Man-esque, which is actually the reason they turned Jarvis into an AI in the Iron Man movie, because they didn't want to just give him a butler like Batman had. But look, what's under this sheet? What do you think it is? I think it's a pile of old boxes. No, it's obviously the 1989 Batmobile. Very bold decision to not show that, by the way. To be like, yeah, you know what this is. I mean, we do. I mean, I do. Most people would know what this is, I assume. But yeah, interesting choice just to go, nah, you don't get to see that, actually. And of course, we get a Michael Keaton voiceover. He says something along the lines of, you can go anywhere, any timeline, any universe. Why stay and fight for this one? And I guess he feels indebted to this universe for whatever reason. Maybe he's just a nice guy and he likes to save multiple universes. That's probably also the case. I wonder, though, if we are going to get kind of some universes merging as a result of this. As in the Keaton Batman becomes like the mainline Batman as opposed to the Ben Affleck one, who we will talk about. But speaking of Keaton Batman, there's been a few hints that this old man, boy, is he going to get punched. He's going to get punched so much. There was this image from a while back of the Batman costume with a splatter of blood. And in the trailer, we get a discarded, what I think is Batsuit for the most part. You can see the Bat symbol in the background. I'm pretty sure this is the Batman cowl that you can't really tell because you can't see the ears. So maybe it's a Flash thing. But look, regardless, there's blood all over the floor. And this makes me think of The Button, the famous comic where Batman is thoroughly beaten up by the Reverse Flash, who is then killed by an unseen entity described as a god. Don't worry about any of that god stuff or whatever. That all leads into a Watchmen crossover, which this movie is probably not going to look at. But I think Batman has to go toe-to-toe with an evil version of the Flash. Now, in the comic, he calls the Flash and he's like, hey, I'm about to get beaten up by an evil, the Flash. Can you please get here really quickly? Emphasis on the quickly, and I know you can because you are the Flash. Okay, so he doesn't call him, it's like a signal. But that's irrelevant. He's in trouble. And the Flash is like, I'll be there in a minute. Which, sure, wouldn't be a problem if he was fighting like Jack Nicholson's Joker, but a minute with somebody who can move faster than light is an eternity. So I think that's exactly what they're doing here, and I hope they are. My goodness, that could just look incredible. Now, there's a few things here that we don't see in the trailer. So what I'm talking about specifically is a couple of things. For one, Ben Affleck is returning as Batman. Apparently, he's not in it very much. Maybe he's just at like the start and the end or whatever. I'm not sure, to be honest. Maybe this movie is going to be a swan song. Ben Affleck has said about this movie that, hey, I actually had fun making this, unlike Justice League, which was a fucking nightmare. So yeah, we've seen some on-location imagery where he's riding a big bike. So we know he's back. Another image we got here is of a flash-colored Batman suit. Does this hint towards the Red Death? Now, the Red Death in the comics is a Batman from another dimension who has the powers of the Flash. Also, he sucks. He's really evil, and maybe we're going to get evil Flash put on a Batman Flash costume. Or maybe Batman 89, Michael Keaton Batman, is going to get some Flash powers himself. Either way, I don't think this is nothing. I think like most comic book movies, everything that we see, all the imagery, it's very purposeful, you know what I mean? And it probably means something. Oh my God, late edition, I just saw this. If you look at the second Flash behind Barry Allen in this shot, he's wearing that Flash Batman armor. Does that mean that he's the Red Death? Is that the villain of this piece? Is he some kind of Batman-Flash combination man? My goodness, what a startling revelation and an excellent find that I found and put in this video. Wow. The other thing is Barbara Machete, who is the producer on this, she liked a comment on Instagram recently of someone saying something like, oh man, I hope we get a Henry Cavill cameo. And look, at the moment, Henry Cavill is not being Superman. That is not the case. We don't know what's going on with that particular version of the character. But that does make me think, oh, maybe they're going to, work that in at some point. I mean, they're still making it. There's a very real possibility that he could be in it. Or they do that thing like they did with Shazam, where they just don't show his face. Also, and this is sort of related, you might know this, but Batgirl is getting a HBO movie. She's going to be played by Leslie Grace. They mentioned at DC Fandom that she's going to be wearing a cowl and not just like the mask that covers the eyes, and she's going to have red hair. And the directors of that said that Batman is definitely going to be in it. They didn't say which version. They weren't allowed to say, but they referred to him as the real Batman. Now, I think if you asked like general audiences, who's the real Batman? You know, the original Batman. I think most people would say Michael Keaton, even though I know he's not the original Batman. Anyway, my point is Batman's going to be in that movie, and Michael Keaton, I think, is going to be the version of. Now, when is this movie released? Ezra Miller, who, here he is, he's like, here's some of the movie or whatever. He's like, we'll see you in theaters later next year, or more importantly, you will see me. That's a very strange way to word that, Ezra Miller. Oh my God, is that a button? He's wearing a button, like the comic The Button. In Australia, we call them badges. But is this a clue? I think it is a clue. I think everything's a clue. Anyways, this is out November 4th of next year. Clean year away from now. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this Flash movie, which looks to be mostly a Batman movie. Am I a huge fan of the Flash character in this universe? Not really, but there's enough elements here for me to go, oh yeah, Michael Keaton, cool, Supergirl, yep, all right. Oh, Ben Affleck's back also. Oh, they're going to beat up old Batman. Sure, great stuff, let's do it. Now, if you're excited for DC Fandom, there's a number of videos going up on this channel, including one for The Batman. That's right, we're getting so many Batmans happening all at once. Some say too many. And you know what? Yeah, maybe. But look, if you do want an extensive breakdown, my podcast that I do with my good friend Nick Mason called The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, that's out by now by the time you're seeing this video. And we go through everything DC Fandom, all the big news, extensively. If you do want to check it out, there's an ad-free version of that at bigsandwich.co, which is like our Patreon. It's $9 a month. And there's movie commentaries, and there's bonus podcasts, and there's early videos. We're currently going through the Amazing Spider-Man movies for Caravan of Garbage. Those are great movies. People are like, oh, I love these. Why didn't they make more? Who knows why? I mean, we talk about it in the videos. Anyways, I'm at Mr. Sunday Movies on Twitter. What do you think of this trailer, though? Like, are you into it? Or are you like, oh, I don't know about this? Leave a comments in the below part of the video. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching this. And I'll see you guys on this YouTube channel soon. Or more importantly, you will see me, as the expression goes, apparently.